Good morning. Welcome to the Brew. It's Watch List Wednesday. Thanks for coming on. I'm lecture host. Today we're going to touch on the collar trade. We're going to talk a little bit about the August CPI number that just came out. And if we have some time, we're going to drink some wine futures. Let's stay tuned for the opening bell. Mal, hello.
Good morning.
Oh my God, look at us. We are the
Black
Knights today. Holy cow.
Completely.
We got the memo to wear dark clothes. I love it.
Okay, I'm gonna give a Wednesday twist for anyone who's up to Googling. Google on NASA the Dark Knight. That'll be really interesting. That'll be an interesting Google.
I know, I like it. So you haven't commented on my hat. Can you see what it says?
Let's see.
It says baller on it. It's spelled B-A-L-R period, baller. I picked this baby up in Monte Carlo when I was there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you mentioned wine futures on the intro. So just a quick on your vacation, what was it like?
What, Monte Carlo?
Is it everything I've dreamed it to be?
Yeah, you know what? We have a little snippet for folks. I don't know when that's going to be published, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's over the top. It's this little bitty country, Monaco, and inside Monaco is this Monte Carlo casino, right? It's a super wealthy country. It's literally it's a joke that it's a country. It's like a football field wide, you know? I mean, what a great place to be a prince of. Prince Albert II, I believe, is
Very
the
cool.
dude.
I love history.
Yeah, I got to walk through his house. We had a little breakfast. It was pretty neat.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a little bitty place of about 80,000 square feet up on the hill overlooking the harbor.
He woke up one morning and he just set everybody out, and he just drew a line just around him.
Yeah,
right.
This is my place. This is my stuff. No, it's pretty cool though. Yeah, I loved it. Very clean, very well policed. Lots of expensive cars. So yeah,
which is nice when you're traveling because you always want to feel safe. So I'm always I thank the police when I'm traveling by myself or
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good. So anyway, I don't think he grew much wine there, but we'll talk about wine futures because the wine futures, like the concept implies, deals with pricing. It deals with inventory, just like normal futures do. So it's an interesting concept. That's something from the financial world that they've applied to the winemaking world. It was pretty much more popular, I'd say, in France with Bordeaux and that sort of thing. Not so popular in America.
Okay.
The Napa Valley and up in Washington, it's not nearly as popular. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Seriously though, on a serious note, this is why I love wine futures so much, is because when someone is looking at getting into trading and they have an incentive to jump in with something they might not know how to trade, but they know wine and they know it inside and out. It's this really nice bridge. It's almost like wearing a harness as you go into the unknown.
Yep.
And I think the world's going to change with value trading as people start to trade what they love. And I think wine futures is one of those low-hanging fruits that you can.
Right. No, that's actually
pun intended. Pun intended.
The low-hanging fruit. I like it. That's a really good point, Mal, by the way, because it's probably easier for someone to understand wine futures than it is to understand options or any sort of future in the financial business. I think the real hurdle in the financial side is the financial product itself. They can be confusing. People get a little bit intimidated when you say, do you trade options? And they're like, whoa, that's scary. That's, I don't understand that stuff. And then you say, well, do you trade wine futures? And they're like, oh yeah, that's easy. I get that. I know what wine is. I drink it, right? It's super simple to understand. Whereas the option part of it is like, not sure. That's a little scary. I got to learn more, which is okay. That's why we're here, right? To help with education of these things.
And I know you have a massive wine cellar, but for me, I'm not a big drinker. And so but love a great tasting wine, but know nothing of. So I had a best friend who knew everything about wine. So it atrophied on me growing up because I just refer to her and she would know everything there was. And so for me, I would say options is more simple than anything related to wine.
Yeah.
So they're yeah.
Well, yeah, we're biased now though, Ma, because we wear black cool stuff. That's
Right.
one of the reasons, and number 2 is, we've been doing it so long, right? So it becomes
Yeah.
second nature.
Yeah.
But that's like anything else. You have to become educated, I think. No, the wine business is good for that. And before we get into that topic, if we have time today, we'll do a whole show on it, but we might touch on it a little later. Um, I did get involved in wine futures in around the 2000 vintage, which was excellent out of Bordeaux, and then the 90s, early 90s vintages, which were also very good. So we tried to corner the market. I mean, we tried it. So we did buy a lot of great first growth wines from Bordeaux, in
The
some
the
futures.
the only experience I have is my mom said, "Okay, pack your bags. We're getting on horses and we're gonna cross the Loire Valley in a week." And
Oh,
it was the
that's
most
cool.
incredible experience of my life. But it's you get on the horse, you ride to the next town, you have lunch, you have, I don't know how many glasses of wine. Then you make it to these castles along the way every night. And there's tons of wine there. So by the time you're on your horse and you make it to the end, you've had so much wine, you're like barely hanging on. Yeah.
Sounds like my kind of party. All right, let's get busy here. So, guess what came out this morning? The CPI, the Consumer Price Index. Obviously, it deals with what we're seeing in the um, uh, in prices that consumers pay for, right? Um, the data showed that the CPI rose. I think it's I'm doing this from memory a little bit, about 0.6% over July, which was above economists' expectations. I thought it was going to be lower. Okay, and then they include food and energy and all that stuff without food and energy. So excluding food and energy, core inflation rose 0.5%. Sounds like small numbers, right? But I think the government is looking for some downticks here, to indicate that maybe they have this number under control. So this report is saying it's not there yet, right? It's not the world's worst thing either, but it's just not there yet. I looked at futures pre-market after this came out. It didn't look like much happened at all. If anything, they rallied a little bit, but very tepid in terms of what the market response was. Are you still seeing, as a consumer, are you still seeing high prices? I go to the grocery store every day, right? I don't keep things in my refrigerator except for the occasional big beer. But when I go to the grocery, I still look at my freaky deaky receipt because I can't believe how much things cost. Are you
Yeah,
noticing
I
that
think
too? I mean, you're
I
in the
think everyone
Soviet state of California, so you have to
yes,
notice that.
yeah, we're in California, and that's gonna be a whole show. So, it is the Wild West here with consumer prices. And the interesting thing about CPI is they change the basket. So it's how long, what can I buy? What is the buying power of a basket of goods? And they decide they've over time actually changed what's in the basket of goods. So for instance, let's say 20 years ago, the standard living I would need, to fit a TV in and
Mhm,
some electronics and, have a normal standard of life. So when let's say one component that might affect it is when technology puts pressure on, advancements, that TV gets tiny and that cell phone gets tiny and everything gets smaller. And so
mhm.
CPI index says you don't need as much space. So they shrink the standard living space. So in fact, people who are used to living in a certain space, it's not quite reflecting the hurt they're feeling
Mhm.
because the CPI index is changing what they're measuring.
Okay.
So, but I do hear, I mean, that who everyone is feeling. They feel it at Home Depot and Lowe's. They feel it at certainly the grocery stores. And, my dad, I had a conversation with him the other day, and he says he was in line and, there was a woman trying to find her last coin. I mean, it's, it's tough out there.
Mhm.
And it's really important to understand and do your research when you go home of how the CPI and that index works so that you can really
So
understand what they're measuring. Yeah.
yeah, so the CPI, as you said, it consists of a basket of major categories, right? Is what you're
Yeah.
saying. And I think, some of the ones that I recall are like food and beverage, housing, apparel, transportation, I think, medical care, recreation, education and communication, and there's some other goods and services in there. So, that basket of goods kind of covers a good bit of what consumers are going to spend their money for. One of the limitations, though, I think about CPI is that it doesn't account for how consumers behave relative to the number, right?
Oh,
It's not a
great.
consumer behavioral sort of index, so we don't know that answer
Right.
when CPI comes out, right? So if transportation costs go up, well, consumers' behavior might be, I'm not going to travel anymore, right?
Right.
I'm gonna reduce that. So we don't see that part of it. We just see, oh, this basket of goods compared to the last basket is up X percent, right? But we don't see
Right. And
what's
that,
going on in the consumer behavior part of it. But that's okay. We need a number, right? Go ahead. I'm
and
sorry.
to speak to that, that's a really good point because, in history and depressions and recessions, people still, if they don't have any buying power and they still need to, after work, go, you know, untie, loosen their shoelaces and go have a little fun, they've always gone to the movies because it's inexpensive.
Right.
They can disappear in their mind. And so when you're looking at some of the stats coming out on the index pressures, it's showing that concert tickets and movies are hiking things up,
Mhm.
and that might be reflective. That might be a sign of, if you look at history, what people are thinking in their mind of what
Right.
might be happening in the future.
Yep. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think another limitation is, it I don't think the CPI accounts for changes in the quality of the goods and services that exist. So, for instance, here's I think a decent example. New cars, right? So if prices are going up for new cars, what CPI doesn't account for is that there's a potential that that new car has new features in it that just cost more to make the car better, and that's the reason for the price increase, right? It might
Got
not
it.
just be a core, excuse me, a core inflation reason. It could be, hey, we're producing more valuable goods and therefore they cost more, right? Makes sense. And thus it could affect the CPI negatively, potentially, right? So
But you're saying it's
there's
just a
another
natural.
limitation.
Yeah, so you're saying that in that case that it's just a natural technological advance that is
Could
being
be,
reflected in pricing, but not necessarily that
right?
that consumer price index is being
Yeah, and
affected
I think,
by
yeah, exactly. I
transportation.
think, uh, when you see these numbers, and I guess this is the kind of the big disclaimer on everything, you know, it takes a little bit more delving to figure out what it really means. And someone's already done that for us. When the number comes out and the market has a big response to it, so the expectation is already built in, and the big response is because you know something is askew. Today, it
Yeah.
didn't look like much of a big response, only, and it was a higher number than expected. So you think, oh God, that's bad. More higher interest rates. Tech's going to get hammered. I'm not seeing that right now. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We're seeing just a mild sort of reaction to this. So we'll see. We'll see what they say. The pundits are going to start talking about this anyhow. As
Yeah.
we're opening soon here at in a minute or so.
Yeah, and we should just talk about real estate. So real estate is one of those, and that every kid, just when you talk to them, they are despondent. And they assume that they're never going to own a house, and with interest rates rising, that becomes a meek future. But I think I think and again, this is why I love trading is that if you keep your money in a bank account, over the last 100 years, it's lost 99% of its value. But if you put that money to work, it can actually keep up ahead of inflation. And so this is just one of those things you just have to know how to do in your future.
Hmm.
Pun,
Yeah,
pun intended. Pun
I
intended.
I like the pun
Your future.
intended. Quit saying future. We're gonna have to start drinking for that one too. Okay, why am I looking up like this? Someone
Because you
asked,
have
"Why do
six
you look up like?"
screens.
Because I
No,
got this
yeah, no,
massive screen above me that I put,
yeah.
Trade Hawk on when I'm looking at something. So I gotta look up.
Because you just looked bored at what I was saying. You're
Nah, I
like,
wasn't
what
that
you
bored.
say?
I wasn't that bored. I swear. I promise. Um, okay, so we are going to, so the market's opening. I'm looking at this. We're not going to do that yet. Hold on. I'm looking at the collar. Okay, we're going to move to
All
collars.
right, let me fix
I
mine.
tend not to wear collars very much because I'm very casual. But it's probably a halfway decent strategy for your trading portfolio. Now, do you know what a collar is, Mal, by any chance?
Oh, okay. This is what I have for a caller. So your stock is your home, and you just if you've been listening, you probably hear me say this again. But your stock is your house.
Okay.
Your call that you sell is the rent that you collect when someone's
Okay.
renting your house, and then the put that creates that caller is the home insurance, just in case the thing burns down and the market crashes.
Okay. Look at you, Miss Smarty Pants.
Just cap that.
Wow. It's amazing. Um, all right. So here, that's all good, right? So collars are the other part of this covered call strategy, right? So with a collar, you're adding one more component. Remember, let's just review for the covered call. Covered call is you own an asset. Okay, that asset is a stock. We're just going to play that game right now. I own 100 shares of something. Let's say it's Tesla. I think I put Tesla up here actually. I did. So let's say I own 100 shares of Tesla. Love the stock. It's gotten a little lofty, in my opinion, right? And I want to start generating some income on the stock. I don't want to sell the stock. I want to keep owning it, but I want to start generating some income. I just think the stock's going to waft around a little bit, a little up, little down. Remember yesterday we talked about, that sideways motion. So I want to generate
Right.
some income. So what do? I sell a call, right? When I sell a call, that call credit is going to mean income to me, right? Now, if the market rises above my call strike, I can have that stock taken away from me if I don't do anything to roll that short call out and up or close that call out. Okay. But I'm making money on my long stock moving up. I'm losing money on my short call going up, but I still have that premium of what I sold it for. Okay. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Okay.
This is actually you you know, for all of those, I was thinking yesterday, for all of those who know what a caller is and they're listening to you now, Lex has a really great way to explain it. So if you're teaching, anytime someone's in options, they're always going to teach someone and bring someone new in. So this is really good refresher of how to relay this information. It's really
Yep.
great.
Cool. Cool. Now, remembering we have long stock, short call. The short call only protects us so much to the downside. It's the premium that I sold it for. That's about all I get out of that thing to the downside, right? So I have no put in this example yet. Now, when you add the collar, this part of the collar that we're adding is the long put down below underneath where your stock is. So you can pick a strike lower. Again, picking the strikes is a little bit personal. It depends on how much protection you want to the downside, etc. So I set one up on TradeHawk. I'll show it in a second. But that's something that you would choose. What I like to do is I like to buy a put, sell a call so that I get a credit for that combination. So the price I pay for that put and the price I sell the call for, the call is a greater value than the price I'm paying for the put. So I get a credit in my account so that if the stock just wafts around between the two strikes, I'm going to collect that net credit, right? And then I can move it out in time as time wears on and keep moving this thing and readjusting. Because I don't want to pay for this stuff, right? I want to do it for credits. So I'll buy a put that has less of a debit value than the credit I'm selling in that call. Does that make sense?
Got it. Absolutely.
So this is a hedge. When you have a hedge, you're giving something up. I'm giving up the full credit of that short call by using some of that credit to pay for that put to protect myself all the way to the downside.
Right.
Less the difference between where your stock is and that call. I'm sorry, and that put strike. Okay.
And just it gets a little confusing because when the average guy, it's actually reverse. So when you go to your bank and you're reviewing your numbers and your account was uh you know credited or debited, and the banking end, it depends on what side you are, they get reversed. So just do a little research if you don't know something. So what is a credit? Credit is, if you have a credit spread, so it's a positive. And when you're buying a put, you're going to lose some of that cash on hand. that
Right.
you're getting as far as that rent check.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right. You ready to take a look at the remarkable?
Yes.
Reuven's saying right now, I hope he shares the screen because it's not being shared right now. All right. I'm sharing. I swear. Okay. Can you see this?
Great.
All right. So let's talk about this. Here's what we have. Let's go back to and I'm going to look up now. So you're going to see my time, up my nostrils here. What I did was I'm in Tesla. Okay. One of these days we're going to have a drawing tool on this stupid machine, right?
I
And I
know
can draw this.
we're getting you covered. And by the way, just as a background on Tesla, again, Morgan Stanley gave it a thumbs up because it took another look at Dojo, and so it's Morgan Stanley says it could possibly add 500 billion to its market cap.
Oh,
So
geez, I
so
don't know how
it's a
I don't know how Elon's gonna manage with another 500 billion. I just how's he gonna do it?
he's going to be paying for X. He's going to be paying for his X
Well, he's gonna
bill.
need to. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, so simply, all you're looking at here is Tesla. I have Tesla up. I'm in October 6th. Okay, I don't know if you can see my mouse. Oh, you can. So October 6th, which is 23 days out. I chose this randomly. There's no science to this yet. And what I did is I have 100 shares on. Okay, and I'm collaring this 100 shares. What does that mean? I'm selling an upside call where I'm circling. You can see the little red one here. That's a short one. I'm buying the downside put. Now they're not uniform, right? So the strike difference between 240 and 265 is what is that? $25, right? And then we got 35 to the upside. But I was able to get enough premium in that upside call, which is about $4 ish, 410, to cover my $4 ish put. So I get it right around even, okay, is what I do. Okay, so even to with a little credit. That's great. It's a zero cost collar, not paying anything for it, and I'm protected. Okay. So what I did is I put this whole trade into the analyzer, the what if analyzer. Let's go there. Okay. Are you still following me?
Yeah. Do we have a what if analyzer for life? Does TradeHawk have
Oh,
that? Just
that's a good idea. So like if you drink way too much on Friday, what
yeah.
happens to you on Sunday?
Will I get arrested? Right.
Yeah, or will you just be passed out by the pool?
Right. Don't
No, we don't
trade
have
and
that.
drink. Don't trade and drink.
That's right. Okay, so two different looks at this. So first one is just the options part of this without the stock. So you can see that I've got this whole zone here. This is without stock, and I'm long a put, short a call. So I've got this unlimited downside after a point, and it's 240 is where my put is. So it starts going up here. Then on the upside, I'm short in the spread, right? On the upside, I've got this unlimited downside move because I'm short the call along the put, right? So this is without the stock. Now, when I click on this one, this adds the stock in. Notice it flips everything over, okay? And this is the important part about this trade. This has the 100 shares of stock in it, short
Okay.
one call, long one put. Okay, now notice the difference between the graphs. Watch this one. Look at this one with the stock. So adding
Cool.
that stock makes my upside look more bountiful and wonderful to a point, and then it flattens above that point. Okay. And that point is at the 300 strike, right? Which is the option I sold. So at 300, that's when my short call is going to start offsetting my long stock, and I flatten out because they offset each other. But I make this difference here. I flatten out here to the downside. I lose the difference, right? Down from where the current stock price is, which is around, it says 267.48 to 240. And then I flatten out because my put helps me forever. Okay. But I do lose money. And you can see that value over to the left there. It's like 2,900 bucks here. So again, you can adjust what you're going to lose to the downside by moving that put higher. And you can adjust what your range to the upside by moving that put lower or higher, as the case may be. Again, a little bit personal on what you think, the outlook for Tesla may be. And I keep stressing to the retail trader, right? Unfortunately, you as a retail person have to have a little bit of an opinion on direction and severity of direction. Okay. It's very much unlike what I used to do in the market making world. We could care less about direction. And I keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying it because you have to understand the difference. You need to do some homework on your stocks that you trade. Okay. Having a good feel for direction or lack thereof is okay. Right. But you got to get it. So that will help you based on where you place these 2 points of the long put, short call. Okay, makes sense. Any questions, Mal? Did that all make sense?
Yeah, when we kind of get to the end of this, and then this is so great. This is gold. It would be really nice for someone, a new trader, to just look at chains. And let's say they're just, you're holding their hand, you're walking them into a store, and you go, okay, here's the chains, and they're looking at the aisle, aisles of things to shop from. How do you know how far away from the strike? How deep in do you go? How are you seeing those numbers? That would be really neat to see.
Yeah, we'll do that next time. We're running out of time here for today, but
Yeah,
it's a good question. And I when I talk with Mark and Jason on Thursdays on the Traders Workshop, they have they have certain metrics they look at themselves, and it's always based on how much they want to protect. They want to protect 2% to the downside, 3%, 5%, and they have reasons for doing that, right? So those numbers can help you pick. I mean, a simple percent, you multiply where the current stock price is by that percent protection you want, right? Take the
right.
difference and come up with where you want to start protecting this thing. And then you work backwards into the call, right? Because again, I really want to have this collar for no cost if I can,
Yeah,
or a pretty good credit and protect as much of the width as I possibly can.
right.
Okay. And we'll build one from scratch on maybe the next on Tuesday of next week or Wednesday. We'll do it on Watch List Wednesday.
Okay,
Um,
great.
I'm traveling again. Did I tell you that?
I just live vicariously through you. Can we just put a GoPro on your head and we can all just
Yes.
VR and
You
live
can.
your life?
Yes, absolutely. I want to get one of those. I started doing that when I skied, and I'm like, this is kind of dumb. But then I'm like, maybe it's not so dumb. You can see me wipe
No,
out.
for me. Do it for me, Lex, please. Hear the desperation.
All right, good. Okay, good. So let's stop there. I see the time. God, we blabber on 30 minutes goes by like that, especially when we're in our Dark Knight outfits.
I know.
I love it. All right, Mal, listen, you're in control for the rest of the week. I'm not going to say
Oh my
why, but
gosh.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
you're the
It's
Friday
all
gal with
downhill.
you're our gal Friday with
All
Paulina.
right. All right. It's all downhill from here. We're gonna talk CPI and shopping, and it's just, who
I
knows?
love
Who
it.
knows what will happen?
All right,
Ladies, join us.
perfect. Have a great rest of the week. I'll chime in. Next Monday we'll pick it all up again. We're going to get into our
And
series Options 101. I'm already starting to put together the slides for it with my goofy
great.
little images that I'm throwing in there. You're going to love it.
Great.
And we're going to start from the ground up and start building a whole library of a teaching mechanism for trading options. Good deal.
Good deal. And I'm looking forward to your wine futures in your wine
Cellar.
cave,
Yes.
007 cave.
We're going to do the 007 cave on wine futures soon too. All right, Mal, have a good rest of the week. I'll be
All
listening
right.
in.
Have
When
fun
you're
on your trip.
I will. Thanks. That's a wrap. Bye.
Bye, Lex.